Hey everyone, thank you for listening to the Drinks.com podcast, the business of online alcohol. I'm your host, Brandon Amoroso, and today I'm talking with Andrew Kamphuis, who's the president of Commerce7, a DTC platform for wineries. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
I'm excited to have you here. So before we dive into the state of e-com tech and technology in general for the alcohol industry, can you give everybody just a quick background on your path and journey?
Yeah, sure. I'm not sure how quick, because I'm old, but let's go with quick. I came out of university as a custom developer, had a little shop, and I did anything for money, just program stuff for money. And that worked out great for me. I actually have had a few cool projects, but I really, really wanted to build a product. And so my first one was Agent One, and that failed, and a subdivision management, and that failed, and a hospital scheduling, and that failed. And as I was going along doing these projects, I ended up starting working on the eWinery platform, which is VinSuite today, and found a little niche in wine, and that seemed to work, but had some major falling outs with the people running that. And in 2008, I started Vin65, and I started that with myself and a couple of people I went to high school with, and that was really cool. And that really took off for us. Like in the first year, we had a couple hundred customers, and we're doing 300 million in DTC revenue, and then the next year it's 500 million, and it's just going through the roof. There wasn't a lot of competition at the time. In 2012, we sold that to WineDirect. WineDirect used Vin65 as the core platform, and so I went to be the president of WineDirect, and that was really fun for a while. And it's the first time, when I sold it, I was paying myself 90 grand a year, so not a lot of money, and all of a sudden I had millions, and so that was great. And I had some fun there, but I wanted to retire. So in January 2016, I decided to retire. Went down to Costa Rica, and Brandon, retirement was amazing the first month. It's just first 4 days was surreal. You're looking at your phone. There's no email. There's no email. There's no email. But then the first month was amazing, and then the second month was okay. And the third month, you're bored, right? You need something to do again. So that's happened. I actually did that for 2 years, doing nothing. I was tinkering around with some AI. I was tinkering around building. I wanted to build this thing that would read all your orders out of your point of sale, and we could generate email based on that and stuff like that, preference-based marketing stuff. And 2018, Opus One came along and called me, and they were having some issues. They were having some fraud. They wanted to go to more countries. They wanted to do things, and I decided to get a friend together, and we'd build a custom e-commerce thing, because Opus One only has 2 products. They have no promotions, no clubs. They didn't need a point of sale at the time, and everything seemed easy, and we just spun this up. It wasn't even called Commerce7. And then we did that, and then Constellation came knocking, and that's a different customer. They have clubs, promotions, point of sale, everything, and that was their second customer, and that's when we renamed the company to Commerce7. And what was great about having 2 big customers, so when I ran Vin65 was, man, I did anything for money because I was poor, kind of thing. And unfortunately, we made some bad choices. And what was great about having Constellation is they really allowed us to build software for everybody. And so shortly after that, we had a bunch of small wineries, Twisted Oak, 5,000 case winery, a few different people on the platform, and it really took off from that. So that's kind of the ins and outs. But long and short is I was a programmer and wanting to do a product.
How did you end up falling into wine? Back in like 2012 when you first started it.
In 2008 when we started Vin65.
Sorry, 2008.
What happened was, so I'm living up in Vancouver, and there was a local printing press, and they wanted to do custom wine labels. And I built this web application where you could upload, say you're getting married, so you could, you could upload a picture of you and your partner, and then you could get on a wine label and print that. That was called Legacy Custom Wine Source. And through that, I met Richard Klein, who wanted to start eWinery, and that's how I got into that. So I didn't have a love for wine. I kind of love beer better, right? That's what young people do sometimes. And it was just through meeting and coincidence and meeting and different meeting and different meeting. So yeah.
That's awesome. Well, maybe there's a beer e-commerce platform in your future.
Maybe.
So in terms of, I guess the evolving landscape of the alcohol industry, you got started in tech in 2008. We're 17 years from that. Um, how has the landscape sort of changed for better and worse in your opinion? And what are you most excited about moving forward?
Yeah, great question. So, if we go back to starting in 2008, I can't remember the number of states, but we could shift to 30 states. I remember like we did a lot first with Vin65. We did like we were doing mobile sites. Back then you had a website and a mobile site. But as we got the engine going, we got the carrot engine going, we got user choice clubs. Back then, everybody was doing traditional stuff. You'd sign up and here's your wines, and it's around the winery schedule, around the winery's release. And then, even at Vin 65 come 2012, 2013, we were doing point of sale and ecom together, so unified customer record in that. All those are table stakes today, right? Kind of thing. Like if you don't have a single CRM that's powering your wine club and ecom, and you don't have a unified product stack, if you're not doing, if you're not allowing user choice clubs, if you're not doing any of those things, all of that's like, it's just table stakes. Used to be for wineries, they'd have a great product and that would work for them. Today, the customer experience really matters. We need to streamline the checkout on the web. We need to streamline the e-commerce, whether you're using Shopify or using Commerce 7 or something. We got to make that checkout smooth. Got to allow people to sign up for a wine club and stuff using their Apple Pay, Google Pay. 2018, we put AI into Commerce 7 when we first launched it around product selection, those types of things. And, you know, we need to be doing more in those areas, but the customer experience is really, really mattering. And it's really the digital experience was way behind. I think wineries really get the customer experience inside the taste room. The taste room is often phenomenal, but they often leave it behind the digital experience. You go to some websites and they got these forms where you fill out like 44 form fields to get through a checkout process or whatever like that. And customers are just going to leave that behind. So, yeah.
Or it doesn't even work. I'm not going to name any names, but I was trying to order some wine yesterday, and I was like, my address would not validate. I'm like, I'm sitting in the address that I'm trying to order it for right now. It was just, crazy.
Well, I think it's also like you have some raving fans in your life. My mom, I could have the worst performance of my life and my mom will show up. But my friends, especially my mediocre friends, they're not going to come around, and certainly not strangers, right? Kind of thing. So I think that wineries overlook that sometimes. They're like, oh, my best customers will come, but you're trying to service someone beyond your best customers and stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean the tasting room experience, and obviously I'm a relatively new entrant to the wine industry, but when I was back when I was in Napa, not this past summer, but the summer before, you go to the tasting rooms, like everything is super buttoned up. They've got that locked down. The experience is great. I still find it kind of amusing that you go in there, they start serving you some alcohol, and then they start selling things to you because obviously I'm going to start buying stuff. But then the moment that I leave, I haven't heard a peep from more than half of those wineries. And there's just such a huge gap between that tasting room experience and the experience that you get online. And when you're going up against more and more competition, both from upstart wineries, but also just other product categories that are a little bit more digitally native. I think the pressure has been increased pretty significantly on wineries to take that tasting room experience and bring it online.
There's so much learning there. I remember so I moved to Napa and for 4 years, and I would go ghost shop at wineries, right? Like you just sit in the taste room and you'd watch the person. And it's so funny. A person would come in and it's like, "Have you tried our? Uh, have you ever been here before?" Yeah, yeah, I'm a club member. Have you tried our 2010 cap? Have you ever been here before? Never been here before. Here's our wine story. Have you tried our 2010 cap? And you're just like, you just told two people the exact same story, and the one guy's like a raving fan, and the one guy's brand new. I also remember sitting in tasting rooms like where I knew nothing and tried using my point of sale system. When we built the Vin 65 point of sale system, Harrison and I went up to Tinhorn Creek as the first winery we did, and we decided to work in the tasting room for a day. And I'm coming from tech background, so I have none of that experience. But it's really like I think there's a lot of learnings. Brandon, if you go sit in the tasting room, you learn a lot, like really fast, and from both sides, like what's working, where they're delivering, and then just huge misses too. So yeah.
What are the challenges that are unique to POS that don't present themselves with just e-com only?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the tasting room is the best. part for a winery to start a relationship with a customer. People who've been to the tasting room have a deeper brand affinity than people who haven't. So you walk in, every dollar that you spend in the tasting room, if I get your email address, you'll spend another 78 cents online. Think of that as like 70% more sales, right? But the unique challenge for you is how do you get that email address? How do you engage that customer? Like you come into the tasting room and you said it yourself, you have this great experience. Oftentimes you come in the tasting room, first you're tasting alcohol, so you're going to be a little bit more relaxed. Number two is it's probably a weekend or whatever, and you went there to have a good time, right? You know, kind of thing. So these are feel good moments for you in your life. Have this great experience. If we could capture your email address, and if we could then you go back to work and you're in Wednesday or Thursday, it's Drury, and we could market to you and you could remember what it was like last weekend, we could get you to buy more wine. But that's why we need this digital experience fully connected, right?
What was it like selling into those, first accounts all the way back in, 2008? Because even now, I find it a little bit challenging sometimes to talk to the old school about, digital. And I can only imagine what it was like in 2008. How did you deal with, that education process?
We actually got really lucky. So in 2008, at this point, I wasn't thinking about selling wine. So I was Jason, Peter, and myself. Peter's at Wineworks, Jason's still at Commerce 7 today, and myself. It's the three of us working out of my basement. And a buddy came along, Brent Johnson, and he said, "Hey, I can't get a job anywhere, And I was like, "Well, take my car, go up to the interior, and see if you could sell some wineries." And he came back, and Mission Hill, the largest winery in BC, had signed, and he had like 10, 15 contracts, 20 contracts. And I remember he coming back, and we're sitting at Sammy J. Peppers from his return trip, and the four of us are there, and it's like, we got a business. And it was that day I phoned up my competitor, Domain 7, and I was like, I got this government account, I got this account, I got this account. I want to give all of these accounts to you, and we're going 100% into wine. And it was us, there's IBG, there's eWinery, there wasn't much today there's a plethora of choices and platforms and stuff like that, but in the early days it actually worked out great. Today I think people are a little more cautious, they've been burned, they've gone through different things, but in the early days I felt like a lot of these wineries were starving for this, and so it actually worked out good for us in the early days. Now we were also too cheap and we almost went broke and everything else. And so we didn't know how to price software properly, but I think we were $150 a month for all of these tools and stuff like that. And all of a sudden you realize you got to pay four guys and you got 40 accounts paying $150 a month. And the math doesn't work out for a salary. But yeah, that was a different problem.
I'm sure we could do a whole nother podcast on the trials and tribulations of growing a software business, the behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So, you've obviously had a ton of success stories since you've entered into the wine industry. But like, what drives you? Where do you get that passion from that continues to, drive you to innovate in this particular industry?
It's fun, right? I actually really enjoy the combo of both like talking to small or mid-sized wineries, seeing a problem, then being able to code it myself. I still commit code a couple times a week to the platform, even though we have 80 employees. I see a lot of things going on in the world. Like we're at a scale where we could do world-class things and deliver on that, and that's like problems that we're trying to solve today are fun problems and stuff like that. Also, being the president, I have some really good people on the team where I don't have to deal with Brandon. I've never been to a budget meeting, kind of thing. Like I just, it took 2 years for Commerce 7 to be profitable, and now that's in the beginning it's my money, and now that's not my money. You don't have to go to these things, and so I largely get to do what I like on a daily basis. You could sit there and watch a customer and you could watch what they're going through and then you could decide whether you could make that better or not.
Jumping a little bit back to when was COVID? March 2020. What did that look like? And I'm assuming the winery reliance upon you increased, probably almost tenfold overnight because that tasting room business was shut off pretty much immediately. So obviously you
So
play a pivotal like component and a huge like you're a part of the success of so many wineries that were able to survive through that period. But what was that like time frame like?
So 2018, 2019, I'd gone to my, we wanted to build this, and I was like, yeah, I'll put in $100,000, right? And next thing you know, I put in $300,000, and then we got to a place where the money hadn't been paid back, but we were break even, right? Kind of thing. So I'm not putting any more money in. Everybody's getting paid. COVID's about to hit. The writing's on the wall. You probably remember this. And my son comes to me. He's Zach. He's working at our organization at the time. And he's like, "We should tell wineries that when they shut down, he's like, if they can't pay us, they don't have to pay, right?" And then he's like, "And we should launch a free product, charge 2% commission, but launch a free product so people a storefront so we could get people live like fast, like now for anyone who doesn't have an e-commerce experience. Let's do this now." And Brandon, you know what happens when you just spent your money and you just got it back, and someone's like, "Hey, you should take another punch in the face," right? And we sat there, and it was like, "Do we do this? Do we not do this? Do we do this? Do we not do this?" And we decided that, hey, we're gonna we're gonna take our platform, we're gonna make it free, but 2% transaction fee. So not free, but 2%. You don't sell anything, you don't pay us. And on top of that, we're going to give you a free template, and we're going because we were working with Stripe at the time, we could get your credit card account approved in 2 hours, right? Okay, so this is what it's going to take for you to turn on your business. It's 2 hours of time and enter your products, and you got a store. That was called Commerce 7 Now. That was the product that we launched that under. And then the second thing was we sent an email telling people that if tasting rooms shut down and if you're under financial hardship, you don't have to pay. Well, luckily, about 15% of our customers took us up on that offer, and 85% of our customers paid us. So that was really nice. So I didn't, maybe took a dip, but we still didn't have to dip back into my money, which was nice. And then we sold a ton of goodwill on that C7 Now. We don't offer that product anymore because we had too many people take it and not do anything with it. So we do have our basic version and stuff, which is cheaper transaction fees, but has a monthly fee so that you get a little more buy-in. But and I never like to see wineries go through a hard time, like it hurts, right? Like I feel for them because you start to visit them and stuff like that. But Commerce 7 took off we were having our best months ever because of COVID. People who never built a customer list realized they had to build a customer list. People who that message of getting those email addresses of the e-com and stuff. If you look at our growth, it like hockey sticked up. We were able to hire a whole bunch of people during COVID. We were able to do a bunch of different things, but it wasn't fun listening to what wineries were going through.
How do you manage that type of explosive growth and scale?
Luckily, the software is fine, so it's just humans, right? And so Commerce 7's built in the AWS serverless environment and could this scale and got 85 million API calls a week or whatever right now. It doesn't matter. Humans take time because you want to get your philosophy through them. It takes time to understand the wine industry. It takes time we have these mission and vision core values at Commerce 7 that every employee should be able to recite for you. And those things take time. And we have good operation people on the team. I'm more of a product guy, but Christine, who runs our operations, does a fantastic job at some of those things. At the time, we had still here Christina, who's running the migration project now, but she was really good on the customer support time. We had Jennifer, who's great. We just had some really, I probably missed some people, so we should probably edit out all the people, but Alicia, all these people were great for us. So yeah, we were able to bring on more people and we were able to accommodate. So training takes time, onboarding people so that they're comfortable with things. Those things take time. The technology itself just ramps, no problem.
What do you think are the sort of lasting ramifications of that period? I've heard a mixed bag of things. There's some wineries who thought that that peak of sales for them was just that was how it was going to be for the rest of time, and they might be coming back down to earth a little bit. But then there's also been such a transformation in terms of the education and awareness of needing an e-com and digital presence. But like, what are some of the other things that you see from that standpoint?
Well, definitely the acceleration of DTC happened at that point. So, acceleration of e-commerce, acceleration of building a digital DTC CRM system, all the acceleration of needing to know our customers and having control over those things. The Up until that point, massive reliance on the tasting room, and so a big shift to having longer term customer relationships and stuff like that due to COVID. And so I think it accelerated DTC everywhere. I think outside of wine too. And so customers really, we were seeing this in other industries like Nike today's 27% DTC last time I looked at something, whereas 20 years ago they were 100% wholesale. Being DTC, not only do you get the margins, but you also get the relationships, right? And you get the inside knowledge of what's moving right now. I think wineries for a long time just relied on the taster, and they didn't have a system together to look at this as a whole, like, and different things. E-commerce was always like, oh, if they want to buy online, sure, I'll take the free sale, but it was never a focus, right? It's never like, how do I drive that afterwards? And all of that changed with COVID. And so is wineries who didn't have an email list, they went through a lot of pain. And wineries who had an email list went through less pain. And so, yeah.
And we're going through a new era now with AI. It seems like every day there's some new, advancement or some other way that businesses can capitalize on that. So how do you see AI fitting in to the equation right now for wineries? But like, where do you see it going? Just in general, you've been at the cutting edge here for the last better half of 15 years. What does the next 5 years look like in an ideal world for you?
Well, ideally, I get a little bit smarter. There's a lot of different things. So, first off, in wine, it's actually easier than if you're someone like Shopify. Like, people who buy wine want to buy more wine. People who buy a patio set don't want to buy another patio set, right? Kind of thing. And so you have this homogenous product you're selling. So 2018, we were able to use some machine learning, have a nearest neighbor logarithm, and we were able to prove that a computer could pick wines better than a human by almost 6 times, 5.94 times more add to cart when a computer picks wines for you than when a human picks wines for you. And so, looking at what you're clicking on, what you're buying, all this data points. There's other things that we want to solve on AI, more on the customer side. Like a nearest neighbor logarithm getting the wine right is nice, but I think in the future we need to know more insights on our customers. And Commerce 7 today has a great query builder, but what we haven't solved is figuring out, you know, with all the AI that we keep, all the experiments, I should actually ask you. I got a question for you. Okay,
You can
so
flip the table.
we're running experiments with some AI, right? And I want to be able to know when a club member is going to leave my club. Okay, so in the gym membership, you don't go to the gym for 3 months. You're going to cancel your gym membership. It's obvious. The leading indicators for leaving a club, yeah, if you're on hold, you're skipping shipments. You have too much wine. We don't actually know what you have in inventory at home. But like looking at the engagement, like are you coming to the website? Are you opening emails and stuff like this? And I was arguing with my team last night that if we could tell 70% or better that someone's going to leave the club, that's the mark. And they're like, no, I'd be happy if I knew 50%. Or like, at what confidence level do you need to know that someone's going to leave your club before this is meaningful data for you?
I mean, with something like that, I don't have the stats off the top of my head, but it is exponentially more difficult to get somebody to come back and reactivate than it
Oh
is
yeah,
to get them to just stay. So me
yeah.
personally, if I was putting myself in the shoes of a winery owner, I would err on, even almost the lower. Even if I'm giving up a little bit of margin to keep those customers, it's a net positive because the risk of actually losing them far outweighs being able to sustain them for another year, 2 years, even longer, even if you are having to get out ahead of a potential churn issue.
So we're trying to figure out. I wouldn't even use money to keep them. I would use an experience. The winemaker calling me or something. So we're having the internal debate. I'm glad you said that because I'm erring going, if I can't predict this at a 70% level, I don't think it's meaningful to our customers. And last night, Karen in marketing is like, if we could just do this even at 50%, we should be pushing this out to our customers. Like, hey, there's a 50% chance that Brandon's going to leave the club in the next month based on these behaviors. He hasn't opened the last two emails, he skipped this package, blah, blah, blah. He's at risk. And let the winery do what they want with it, but send you an email, give you a phone call, do something meaningful for you, whatever, kind of thing. So I think we could be doing a lot more with AI around there. I know wineries are writing product descriptions and blog posts and those types of things with AI. Commerce 7 largely doesn't get into the content marketing that wineries are doing. I frankly now write blog posts like the last three that I've written, write the entire thing, and then I say, Chat GPT, make this more professional. It makes me look better, right? And it's like, here you go. So those are things, but I think for wineries, I think we need to be able to give them customer insights and let them have, one of the cool things about our point of sale and having the CRM in our point of sale today is that we're able to, like, when you walk in the tasting room, we could go, hey, Brandon was last here on this date. Here's what he's ordered. Brandon's a great tipper or a shit tipper. We give them so much hey, if your credit card's declined on a club membership, that's going to pop on our POS. And as soon as you pay, we're going to ask if we could just add that. Like, it's got some really great, let's call them like entry level smarts in there. But I'd like to be giving you deeper insights that the AI engine could do for us. So I could empower my frontline staff to have a more meaningful conversation with you. If I could go, today, I could go, hey, Brandon, you were here last year, and last year you tried our 2022 rosé. This year, would you like to try our 2023 rosé? It just came off the line. Like, that's kind of a nice conversation whenever someone can remember you and stuff. But I feel like we could go more with that.
I mean, I'm not super technical, but I would assume that you would be able to increase that confidence level pretty significantly with the sheer amount of just storefronts that you have, the amount of customer data you're processing. Like me, I don't just buy from one winery. I'm assuming that I'm buying from multiple wineries that are on Commerce 7. So being able to, aside from store specific insights, like, hey, this person might be churning because of a certain signal. Well, why don't we look at how Brandon interacts with all of the Commerce 7 websites that he purchases from over the past 5 years, and then have that inform, what a churn signal might look like for that particular storefront.
When I was at Wine Direct still, we tried this thing called 46 Bricks, was basically this called customer sharing among wineries that agreed into it, right? Because, by the way, when you come to Napa, you're a little promiscuous. You go to 5 different wineries, right? You go to this winery, this winery, this winery, and tomorrow you're going to wake up and go to these 2 wineries. You're not brand loyal, right? Kind of thing. There will be the ones, 2, 3 there'll be ones that you want to seek out, and then there'll just be, these things, but you're not going to buy all your wine from one winery. So you're exactly right. And if you join a club, it's likely that you join 2 or 3 clubs. And now if you cut back on your wine, you might cut back a little bit, but oftentimes people switch a club just to go try a different club, right? You're just like, I like cabs, I love some good bottles of wine, but I kind of like trying a new one all the time, right? So I do think we do house everybody in a multi-tenanted database. We do look at customers across. We tried getting wineries to opt into 46 Bricks at Wine Direct. Today we do fingerprinting on credit cards and stuff like that, so which is what Square does. So if you enter your email address here, it shows up there. We are not sharing anybody's data with anybody else, like in some kind of anonymized manner. But it does, there's lots of things to be done there, and we've been talking to wineries about this, and just providing insights around some of these things. I was talking with the guy Dirk today about even bringing Nielsen data into this. There's massive opportunity if we look at Brandon across what he's doing his entire trip in Napa, right? Also, it'd be great if he dropped some serious money at one winery and he walked into the next winery. Wouldn't it be awesome for them to know? But now you got to get these wineries to agree around the data and stuff, and that's a little bit tougher for a conversation.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned you're a cab drinker. If you go on that fifth Commerce 7 website, the first page that you see should not be a bunch of white and rosé wine. It should be the cab offering that winery has.
Absolutely. Today we don't plant a third-party cookie on people. We only could stitch it with an email behind the scenes. We did do that back in the past. But today, and so we've been everything's first party still, so it's locked into a given winery. But there's definitely notion of having those conversations with people.
As it relates to like identifier for a customer, SMS marketing blew up during COVID. And I've
Yeah.
seen like in the case of like an attentive, they use the phone number as the unique identifier for a customer versus the email address. But like where do you see SMS marketing playing a role within the alcohol industry? Because I saw it boom and then it sort of has started to tail off a little bit, and it seems like there's a lot of noise within that space.
I look at what you could do in Clavio. I look at what you're doing on Redshirt. I flew down to Phoenix to meet with Redshirt for a day. Is it Phoenix? Scottsdale. Yeah, same place. And I was there 3 weeks ago. We're doing a webinar here shortly with Redshirt. There's some really cool stuff that's going on in the SMS space. Being able to get a text message and add an extra bottle to your club shipment or something like that is an amazing thing. I don't want to give away their stats, but people who do this stuff have better sales, right? And that's proven. At the same time, I personally hate all the noise that comes in my inbox. Like I'm really reluctant to give away. I do post my cell number or my email often in Facebook to people who are chirping on our software. But I could tell you, I must have I'm pretty religious about declining some of those emails. So I think you really need a relationship with your customer if you're going to SMS them, right? I don't know if you like promotional SMS. I like knowing package tracking. I like if I'm in a club, those types of things. And I think customers everywhere are different. When we were talking with Red Chirp, we felt like a one size fits all doesn't work for an SMS opt in, right? Because I will opt into SMS package tracking and I will opt into SMS club shipment or something, but I don't want to opt into SMS promotional, although other people might. Although I would opt in for my local bar that I frequent for SMS promotional stuff because it bothers me when he's like, he'll have a great band, and I was like, you didn't tell me about it. He's like, well, you should have been on Instagram. I was like, yeah, I was had a busy day. So I think there's room for it. I think and I think having a phone number as a unique identifier for a customer obviously makes complete sense. Put that in the I-164 format, which is the plus one, whatever, have a normalized format in your database, and it'll work out great for you. Yeah.
You talking about net new channels, social commerce, specifically like TikTok Shop and some of these things have really blown up outside of the alcohol industry because of rules and regulations. Do you see that changing at all? Is there an avenue for social commerce within for wineries to tap into?
There's always, I'm going to steal Paul Mabry's quote, there's always ROI in talking to your customers. So you want to be on these channels, right? We can't sell alcohol on TikTok today. I know that Paul has a forum, maybe I shouldn't give this away, on transforming wine, and they're pushing on TikTok on different people and stuff to be able to do this. You want to meet your customer where they're at, right? And if customers have largely gone, Facebook used to be great, and then Instagram's the new hotness, and now TikTok's the new hotness, kind of thing. And that's where you want to be meeting your customers where they're at. And if you're old school like me, so I do have a TikTok account, I'm not really on it. Do have an Instagram account, I'm not really on it. I'm not really on social. So you want to meet me with email or SMS. But if you have a younger generation or a generation that's going there, you want to meet them where they're at. And I think lots of ways to buy. Yeah, it'd be great if we could actually sell on TikTok today. I don't think that any one of these channels is being the absolute savior. I think we got to, create these relationships. And if my customer's there, and that's how I talk to them, it's pretty funny. Brandon and I have two children, and I have one kid that does everything on Instagram Messenger. And I have another kid that I message on WhatsApp. And it'd be great if we actually, all use the same thing, but you want to meet, for me with my kids, it's meet them where they're at. And this is where they're at all the time. If I send my older son a WhatsApp message, it'll get answered in 2 or 3 days. And if I send him an Instagram message, it'll get answered within 5 minutes. And so therefore, go meet him where he's at. And I think you want to be doing that with your customers.
Yeah, I was talking to somebody yesterday, and there's currently four generations in the workforce right now.
Okay.
And the oldest generation and the youngest generation could not be further apart in terms of the way that they consume content, the way that they discover new
Yep.
products, the way that they shop. And like
Yep.
businesses then have to, in turn, respond to the fact that they have these different generations all
Yep.
actively engaging and, they're fighting for eyeballs with all their competition. And so you really have to, for the businesses as well, meet them where they are.
Yeah, meet them where at, make it super simple, make it streamlined, and that's how you're going to make things happen.
So I got one more uh, tactical question for you, and I got two fun ones, and then I'll let you
Okay.
go. But um, as it relates to you know the digital customer experience, what excites you the most about the future of that?
What I'm most excited about right now at Commerce 7 is so we have this point of sale system and we have the CRM record in it. And I think we're just tapping the surface of it. And I feel like we're going to be able to put insights on the front line. And we are putting insights on the front line. I think we're going to, I feel like we're on the cusp of doing some amazing things there. Today, walking in and knowing who Brandon is and when you last visited and what you bought that's a nice to have. But I think we could go a lot further on that, right? And I'm hoping the experiments that we're running turn out to be true. Oftentimes they turn out to just be okay. But yeah, I'm really excited about the blending of all of our data with some of that AI data. It gets really really exciting.
I lied. I have one more question for you.
Okay.
Um, as there's a lot of noise in the market, and I think we've seen a lot of it in just the last month or two alone. How do you deal with a lot of information going at different people all at once, some of which may or may not, actually be valid. Some of it may be valid. How do you cut through that noise and be the true and like consistent, voice of reason within the ecosystem?
You're talking about all my competitors.
Competitors is one, but there's also, I mean, you just go on social
Consultants.
media, you go on social media in the last like 6 months, and if if I was a winery that just was getting started, or maybe I just bought into a winery and I tried to go on the internet and figure out what the hell I'm supposed to do, I would have no idea where to start, like in any way whatsoever.
It is really tough. There's a million consultants with a million ideas. We have more competitors than we've ever had before. Saw a new one open up yesterday and whatever, and that's fine. I think over time, I think I think a lot of wineries know the truth. They know that they need to go in deeper with their customer. I know that I need to understand my customer more. I need to have a better relationship with my customer. It's not good enough to have wine. You could think you make a great product, but nobody makes shit wine these days. Not nobody, but nobody makes, no farmers out there going, "I'm making crap wine," right? They're all making good wine. They know they need to talk to their customers better. So they know the fundamental basics. There are a lot of hype here and there and here and there. And frankly, some of those things do work and some of them fall apart. I don't have any good advice for when you are sitting here and you got to make a decision. I think as a winery that you got to get a customer database together and you got to do this and you know these things. Whether the latest trends are going to work for you or not, I think you know the core. And the core is that you got to have some kind of system that manages who your customers are. It's not good enough just to have a product anymore.
That's fair. That makes sense. Well, let's move on to the fun ones. I got two fun
Okay.
ones for you.
All
Uh,
right.
First, what is your favorite wine memory?
Can I go with two favorite memories?
There's no rules here.
Okay. All right. So just started Vin 65. Uh, I had never even tasted a $100 bottle of wine before. David's the CEO at I think that was his name at Opus One. We're coming down the Napa, and he takes me out to dinner at Meadowood, and he obviously thought I knew a lot more than I knew, and I had this great conversation with him. But he bought 2 bottles of Opus One. I can't remember the 2 years, and he opens them both, and he's like, "Tell me the difference." And I couldn't have been scareder in the moment. I couldn't have like the other fun one that happened for me was I let in on the story a little bit. We developed the Vin65 point of sale, and so now I'm in the wine space for 2 or 3 years. I know a little bit more than I knew that moment when I met Opus One, where I just so intimidated in that room because I had never even tasted anything like this. But when I was at Tim Horn Creek, Carson and I, we built this point of sale system. We decided to go up there and use it for the first day and sitting in the tasting room. And I was like, I don't know how to talk to the customer. And the lady's like, it's easy, right? And I'll tell you, it's not easy, right? And we're just sitting there as two guys, like Brandon, I swear, I'd love to see a video of it. But I know, like, what she thought was easy, I thought was monumentally hard and scared. I remember looking over at Carson, and he's shaking. And we're gonna help people buy wine with our technology. So that was fun.
That's awesome. I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall for that day.
Yeah, so those are just just learnings you have growing up, right? So yeah.
And the last one to tie things off here, if you could share a bottle with anyone, who would it be and what would you drink?
Oh wow. Who would it be? So uh, the chief of surgery here is my best friend in Vancouver. His name's Francis C, and we drink a lot of bottles of wine. And he's a French connoisseur, and I'm a California boy, right? And we should talk each other's wine all the time. So, and the wine I would go to, my favorite go-to wine is the Mascot, which is Harlan's lesser brand, I guess, if you want to rank their brands, I think it is, anyways. And I would put that up against, he would get some Barolo from Italy, or he'd get some Bordeaux from France, and whatever. So that's where I'd head on that, and it just, that's where I'd head.
Duke it out, the battle between the domestic and the international.
We do this all the time. It's kind of fun.
That. Well, thank you so much for coming on and sharing all these insights. It's a testament to all the success that you've had in the industry, and I'm excited to see all the new advancements and whatnot that you guys have coming down the pipeline. Um, but before we hop, can you let people know who are listening, where they could find you online? Maybe don't give them your phone number. I wouldn't suggest that, but I think a website URL will suffice.
Thank you, Brandon. If you want to know more about what we do at Commerce 7, it's commerce7.com. I will give you my email. It's Andrew at commerce7.com. So well, here, it's right on my shirt if you're watching, so you can figure it out. The seven's the number. But yeah, so thank you. Love the stuff that Zach's doing, that Drinks is doing. Brandon, love this conversation. So thank you very much.
Of course, really appreciate you coming on. For everybody listening, as always, this is Brandon Amoroso. You can find us at drinks.com. Thanks for listening, and we will see you next time.